Hi, and welcome to this episode of Victory Talk with Latasha White. So today I want to bring to you a subject that is hot and heavy right now. But, it's really not just right now. It's just kind of coming to a head and in the forefront of our faces again. And so I'm talking about all the social injustice. I'm talking about the riots that are happening. I'm talking about the picketing that's happening. I'm talking about all of it. And in talking about that, I wanted to come from a place of understanding both sides because, as a mother of Black sons myself, I'm not saying that all lives don't matter. So don't email me. Don't jump all over all that. I am here with Victory Talk platform to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm talking about Black Lives Mattering because it seems that they don't. And so that is my opinion. That is the platform that I stand on. I'm not saying that that's yours. And if you don't agree like I do, feel free to not listen. But what I do want you to listen to is the perspective that I have from Chief Precious Jones. She is a former state police officer and a current chief of police with Paramount Schools. And so what I wanted her to bring the perspective of being able to give a voice to really what's going on. She is not, hear me, she is not here to give a statement from either side. And so I really wanted to hear her voice and hear her heart as to, the whole idea of Victory Talk is how can we walk out victoriously? How can we lead ourselves well? That's what I do as a self-leadership coach. And so really that's where the space that all this is coming from. How can we lead ourselves well and victoriously in this? And so Chief Precious Jones, I would like for you to just share your heart a little bit of just whatever you would want to lead with in this moment, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. First of all, hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
As you stated earlier, this is a heavy, heavy subject. I have been torn these last several days. These last several years, it's just seemed as if it has come to a head because our community is tired of being tired. And this put the icing on the cake. This started movements. This started things to being put in place to hopefully make the governors, the mayors, the police departments listen. It's been some sad, sad days this past couple weeks. I don't even know where to begin because, as Latasha said, I'm looking through several different windows. I am a Black female first. I have 2 Black sons and a Black daughter, and I am married to a Black male who just happens to be a police officer.
Right.
So I'm just not one-sided. I see several different angles of what's going on. And unfortunately, I feel the wrath from all different angles. And not one side or one person is all the way 100% right or in fault at this point. But I do know we will not make any leeway if we continue to fight each other. If we continue down the road of wanting to be right and not listening to what the other side has to say, or the hurt and the pain behind the marches, the rioting, everything that's going on. It's a voice behind those things.
There is. And that voice that you speak of, that voice just wants to be heard. That voice is angry. That voice is tired. That voice is all of the emotions in one. And so when you try to put just a face on what's going on and why is it going on, you can't do that very readily. You can't just say this isolated incident caused this. This is years upon years upon years that just is kind of coming to a head. And I heard a lady say, like, you can't get away from it now because we're in a time of quarantine, pandemic, and you are at your house and it's in your face and you can't leave it. And so you are forced to face it. And in forcing to face it really gives us, when we don't know how to really bottle our emotions the right way or package our emotions the right way, it causes an explosion and we don't know what to do with that emotion. And so then it's like, let's just do something, and that something has to get heard, and we need to be constructive with that, right?
Absolutely.
And so we always want to be solution oriented, solution minded, because when we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem, but we don't have the answers. We can give suggestions of solutions, and what would you say to that?
Unfortunately, there is just not one solution, as you stated. We have to come together on both sides. I don't know when you all are going to see this, but I'm going to speak from last night. There was a march down Meridian to the governor's mansion, and I became emotional to see, the demands of the community. And one of the demands was just walk with us, just march with us, just understand, listen, hear us. And it took forever, it seemed like, for the police to come across that line. And I'm on the other side of that computer screen like, come on, guys, come on, somebody step up, And they did eventually.
Yes.
They did eventually. And my heart was happy, but all at the same time, all I could think about was, what about tomorrow? What about the next day? What about the next day? Because although there was unity for that moment, that minute, that hour, what about tomorrow? All I could, the analogy behind it that I read, and I could only agree with it. It's like an abuser. I say sorry tonight, we're good tonight, but there is a tomorrow. And if things don't change, it's just a cycle.
Right.
It's just a evolving cycle.
Right.
So, although I embraced that moment, we still have that wall up, because I got up this morning and my feed was just so negative about the moment that I had to cut it off. I had to turn off my phone for a minute, because from the community side, I felt like, guys, do you not want to see unity at this point? Do you not want to come together with the police? But I understood their frustration of, oh, it was just a photo op. Oh, it was just so we could go home that night. All the things that, because we dealt with this for so long, that we have no other options but to think that was just for the moment.
Right.
But on the other side, as a police officer, it's like, maybe it wasn't. Maybe those, even if it was those 4 or 5 versus probably the 20 that were standing online, felt like, all right, enough is enough. We need to go join them. We need to understand. We need to try to understand, even if they don't at this point. We need to listen. My heart went out to those officers that did cross the line, that were able to cross the line, because we still have a job to do.
Absolutely.
Even if they wanted to cross the line and they told them not to at that point, they have families to feed. So they choose to stay across that line, whether they wanted to join them or not. So I understand that part of it as well. But I also understand, and I'm going to not direct quote Miss Obama, she says, if you are quiet at the table that you sit at, then you need to get up and give your seat to someone else.
Absolutely. I agree.
So I've always been that stand out, say what I got to say type person, and it didn't change because I put on a uniform. I filter a little bit now, but Tasha don't think so. But
Tiny bit.
I do still say what I have to say. I'm for right, whichever side of the table it's on. It's disheartening to see what's going on at this point because I love my calling, which is a police officer, more so in these schools, in the community, trying to build bridges and not breaking them down. It's so hard for a child to walk into a school and see a police officer as their help and support when they go home and they're told that the police are your enemy.
Right.
So it's a hard fight. It's a hard struggle. But I understand. I understand because I have 2 Black sons that I hand off to the world every morning.
Right.
I have a husband that I've told several times he would run at night, and he's a police officer. I would tell him, make sure you take your gun and badge with you. Why do I have to tell my husband to take his gun and badge? But reality is, because that's the way of the world, I don't want him to end up face down on the ground unnecessarily because an officer ego was too strong at that particular moment to just listen to him say, hey, I'm a police officer.
Right.
And he shouldn't have to say I'm a police officer.
He should not.
So it's hard. It's hard.
It has to be, and I can't even begin to try to understand where you sit because it's just like, this is the analogy that I'll make. So all police officers are not the people who put their leg on somebody's neck for 9 minutes. Most are not that. But what do you see in the media? Those who are. I mean, I'm glad that the light is shined on them so that justice can happen, and I'm looking for that to happen. But what about those who aren't? And so just like she was mentioning the peace rally that was going on last night and the officers that crossed the line to walk with them, I witnessed in my own community of Kokomo, they were marching downtown and the officers that came to them to have the conversations to say, what can we do? We understand that you're hurting. That is not what the light is shined on. The light is shined on all the negative. Same way with us as Black people, or no matter what race. You're going to see all of the crazy. The media is going to show you the crazy. The media is going to show you the people who aren't doing right. The media is going to show you the people who are burglarizing or whatever it is, but you're not going to see the upstanding professional people who are actually making a difference in the world. That's just how it goes. And so I love that you are having this conversation to say, like, hey, we're out here and we do want to make a difference.
We do, absolutely. I get up every day, and even if I'm not putting on my uniform, I'm in police mode because, especially now, I'm not an active carrier, but I mean, I spoke to you and a couple other friends the other day that I was so hurt that I had to turn around and go back home for my weapon. Because at this point, you know, it's disheartening to say that, I'm just a police officer at this point. Most of the community, some of the community are so upset for good reason, again, with the officers that I'm no longer Precious. I'm no longer Mrs. Jones. I'm no longer Gabriel and Caleb's and Simone's mom.
Right.
They see this uniform and I'm automatically the enemy. So I have to make sure I go home to my family. I have to protect my family. And when I have my 9 and 6-year-old riding in the police car with me, and I fear for their lives and their safety because a lot of people are so hurt that they're willing to kill innocent officers at this point. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially because I know I would have not stood by and let any officer working with me kneel on anyone's neck for 9 minutes. The man said he couldn't breathe. When I seen the video, I'm screaming, do something, do something. So I understand the hurt, the pain, the frustration, the outrage, the actions. But all at the same time, there has to be a balance.
Right.
There has to be a balance, just like the community doesn't want me to put a certain group all together. Me personally, that's just what I want from the community. Not to put me in a category over in the corner because I wear a uniform every day, when I know I'm putting out my best to do right by people.
Absolutely.
So it's hard. It's really, really hard.
I can't imagine. Like I said, I cannot imagine. And thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you stand for. No matter what hat you have on that day, you always stand for right, just like you said. And I commend that. I mean, I think that we have a long way to go. I think that, as you talk about the anger and things and people who are ready to kill innocent officers and all that, that's not the solution. That absolutely isn't the solution. I can't say that I do have what it is, but I know that's not it. I know violence isn't it, but I do understand the anger when I'm angry just to have to prepare my sons to leave the front door when all they're doing is going to the store. I mean, it makes me angry. My 22-year-old is texting me last night and said, "Mom, I'm inside." Why does he have to tell me that? Like, it's just those little things that nobody thinks means anything, but as Black mothers, it means a lot. And so just to know that your sons are safe for that night, it's like, thank you, Jesus, let me breathe one more day. And, we shouldn't have to be in that place, but we are.
Absolutely. And I've seen a meme that when George called out for his mother, every Black mother in America, heart beat just stopped.
Yeah.
It's the truth. My 21-year-old daughter, as 21-year-olds, they run and go, I'm texting her way more than often at this point. Hey, where you at? What you doing? And as you stated, why do I have to do that?
Right.
It's unbelievable at this point. Unbelievable.
It is.
But
it is.
again, I understand because I'm just as pissed as everybody else.
Right.
We should not be here. It's 2020. Why are we fighting the same fight that our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers fought? Are our children, is my 9 and 6-year-old going to be fighting this fight? Even more heartbreaking, are they going to make it to fight this fight if necessary?
Well, the whole point, you guys, is so that we can just shine a light of awareness of really what is going on. And like we talked about, what it was like 30 years ago or something when the whole Rodney King thing happened. And that was the first time that it was videoed, right? There was hundreds of years before that all of it was happening. But once we started getting video, we've gotten video after video after video after video for the last 30 years. And we're still in the same place, just as she said. And so can we have a constructive conversation? So if you hit this video and leave your thoughts of constructive ideas, we are open to all of it. Like, let's come from a place of peace and love. It's not about, bashing anybody. It's not about who's right and who's wrong, because we just need to come together in peace for solutions at this point. And so that's what I'm asking. And Chief Jones, if you would have any parting thoughts for the Victory Talk audience, what would it be?
My parting thoughts would just be keep fighting. Just keep fighting. It is for good cause and good reason. It's hard. It's heartbreaking that we are here, as I stated, in 2020. But just know, just like that Black queen in Fort Lauderdale, I could see me all in her. And if you don't know what I'm speaking of, look it up. There's a video of her going after one of her officers because he pushed down someone that was on their knees with their arms up. And he was frustrated, upset, whatever he wanted to be at that moment. He pushed him down, and she went after him.
Yeah.
I applaud her.
That's what we need.
That's what it's going to take. It's going to take us officers calling each other out on our crap, and then our subordinates holding the officers responsible.
Yes.
So keep videoing, keep pushing. Let's unite and make a difference. Be the difference you want to see.
Absolutely.
Speak that all the time.
Be the difference you want to see. That is it right there. That's it. Be the difference you want to see. And, being able to lead yourself well in all of this isn't always top of mind. But if you've been practicing it, like we've been talking about, then you should have just like, okay, let me get myself together. Because when you can't lead yourself with your emotions. You always go wrong that way. And so like once you feel like I can't do any better in this moment, that's when you need to talk it over with somebody else. That's when you need to be like, hey sis, I don't have it today. Like walk me through this, talk me through this, help me be better in this moment. So stop trying to do it alone. Like we talk about that all the time, and more so now than ever. So again, if you have comments on this, and you can even just go to my website, LatashaWhite.com, and go to the comments tab on there, or contact me tab, and you can leave a comment there. So if you don't want to do it on social media, I totally get it, but please just do it. Like, let's have a voice in this, okay? So thank you again for tuning into this episode of Victory Talk, and thank you so much again, Chief Jones, for being here and giving a light to all sides of it, from a mother to a wife to an officer to a wife of an officer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for
I
having me.
appreciate it.